And welcome back to the start, of Season 2 of the Arizona Cardinals franchise here on Madden 23, where we just finished off last episode, Season 1, with a Super Bowl victory. It took a lot of changes throughout the season to really get to a point where this team was playing winning football, not necessarily dominating football, but winning football. And we were able to continue that throughout the postseason and into the first Super Bowl victory of the Arizona Cardinals. And to even add even more to it, it was a home game. We played the Super Bowl at home and won 17-10 against the Kansas City Chiefs. It was, if you didn't watch the game, go watch it, even though you now know how it ends. Go watch it. First half was great offensive game. Defense shut out for both teams. No points were scored in the second half, but there were still big plays that happened throughout the second half. So it was just a fun game. But today is off season, which means there's going to be a lot of turnover. I feel like on this roster, we're going to probably have to rebuild a lot of it. One, because we're going to let some players go. Two, some players are going to retire, I'm sure. And then three, we want to get better at some positions, even though we just won a Super Bowl. Kind of weird to say that, but there's definitely some positions of weakness. So let's go ahead and get started by one saying we got a contract extended here, 5 years, $4 million. It's pretty much that every time. There's really no negotiations for your own contract, but we got a contract extension. Now let's start this off season. So to recap the last season, obviously, we won the Super Bowl 17-10 with Jalen Thompson getting the game-sealing INT. He is a Super Bowl MVP, first Super Bowl championship for the Arizona Cardinals, second NFC championship. Apparently also the same for the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like they've had more just by how much they've been winning of recent years. Yearly awards, NFL MVP goes to Patrick Mahomes, who loses the Super Bowl. The Giants head coach wins Best Coach of the Year. Offensive Player of the Year goes to Cooper Kupp. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Von Miller, with Offensive Rookie being Christian Watson and Defensive Rookie being Aiden Hutchinson. And I just do want to note that Derek Young was voted, I guess, our best offensive player. So if Jalen Thompson wasn't the Super Bowl MVP, it would have been Derek Young as the undrafted rookie receiver turned running back. He had 5 carries for 24 yards, averaging 4.8 yards a carry. He had 1 rushing touchdown. He also had 4 catches for 62 yards. So he was close. That would be, doing quick math, 86 yards. He was close to about 100 yards in his first Super Bowl appearance. Considering he didn't even start the year on a team, so that's pretty good. But now it's time to move on to the next stage, which would be re-signing our own players, also I believe showing us who retired, and that's going to be a big one for us. And for us, we only ended up having 2 of our guys retired. Dwayne Brown, who was a free agent we brought in as one of our best offensive linemen outside of our center, Rodney Hudson, who did not retire, nor did Justin Pugh. They both could have regressed. We'll need to check that. Andy Lee does retire, so we will be looking for a new punter, but Prater does not retire, so we're good at kicker, at least for another year, possibly. Might try to get younger there and just plan for the future. So this leaves us with, I believe, 12 players that we need to re-sign. We have 61 million cap space. Derek Young is someone I definitely want to bring around, or keep around. Would like to give him a 3-year deal. I honestly would think 3 years, $3 million a season would be perfectly good. We'll bump it up to 3.5. We'll make that offer. And he likes it. He'll sign that one. So first signee, we're good to go. Now Rodney Hudson does regress. Previously he was a 90. He is down to an 86. So let's take a look at that player card. I mean, still honestly a really good guy to keep around. Still a superstar dev. He does still have some boost happening to his ratings, but overall across the board, still looking really good. Rodney Hudson is someone I definitely want to keep around. That'll help us kind of stretch out the time of which we need to replace most of our offensive linemen. So we'll give, honestly, let's just make it a 1 year, 11 mil. Call it simple here. He's a really good guy, but he's not interested in signing, and that's something we might see a lot after winning a Super Bowl. Some of these players are going to go after big money before they retire, and that might be what Rodney Hudson's doing. If you're curious about a franchise tag, it's basically what our offer was. Actually, it's a little cheaper, so that's still an option for Hudson. Now, we did end up having a little regression for Justin Pugh, but nothing too major, mostly awareness and a little bit of some of his power kind of blocking, but not looking awful. Ratings are actually pretty decent. He is currently without the overall boost, I believe was a 78. So he's not an awful guy and someone we still could consider to bring back. I might wait for open free agency just to see if there's someone younger of similar overall. Another offensive lineman who we may bring back is DJ Humphries. He played all right for us. He wasn't great. He was one of the guys who gave up the most amount of sacks this year. We moved him around the offensive line a little bit, I believe, as well. Again, someone that we might end up bringing back at 29. If there's someone younger, similar overall, I think I would like to get younger there. And the rest of the players wasn't all too interested in bringing back, at least at this point. So Rodney Hudson, we will go ahead and franchise tag. It's pretty much going to be the amount of money we offered anyway. So we'll be heading in to free agency. Of course, we need to save some money for the draftees with about 47 mil. So let's get to know this class with the top two being Derwin James Jr. and then Odell Beckham Jr. Two juniors off the top. There's also Kareem Hunt, Jordan Poyer. If we wanted to go after a top-end safety and move Budda Baker down, they're definitely available. Deontay Johnson also available. We don't need help at receiver, but there. We need to find some good offensive linemen. I think the first one to go after would be Elgton Jenkins. At 27 years old, his skills are very well rounded, and we can move him anywhere along the offensive line that we really need to, but having the pass protection looking really good, you want to keep him at one of the tackle spots. So let's try to sign Jenkins. Maybe make this about a 15 mil a season. We'll see how much that drops the interest in this offer. So using the current market, we do still have the lead as the top offers, and that would end up saving us a bit of space in cap, but we could still go up if we need to. Now, in terms of the other tackle spot, Christian Senior really seems to be the best option. He's 100% a pass blocker, which I think would still work with the RPO style of game that we run. And he also does not have any other offers at the moment, so we could go with a bit of a cheaper deal here as well. Let's make this about a 2-year, 8 mil per season offer. I think that would be a solid deal. It's a little under what he's expected to get, but there also are currently no other offers, and he is interested in signing with the team. Justin Pugh, we know what he can do, and I don't believe he has any other contract offers either. So we'll try to make a decent offer here just to make sure that he signs about a 1 year, I think it was 5 mil a season. And we might even be able to lower that as he still doesn't have any contract offers. So lowering it down to 1 year, 4 mil, keeps it in the yellow. We'll see how he likes that one. We have to sign 4 offensive linemen, or would like to sign 4 offensive linemen, so we need to find at least one more. So I feel like our last kind of offer we could go for here is a guy like Ryan Bulaga, who's probably playing in his last season. Make it a little bit of a cheaper deal, 3.5 for salary, 3 for bonus, so 6.5 mil for 1 season. Now, does he get a bunch of contract offers after we give one? No, only one, but it will be 4 players. Before we start going through and seeing what other, or if any of these guys signed, let's take a look at what all else is available on defense before we might have to make some other moves. And one player that very much intrigues me, we don't intrigue him very much, is Marcus Davenport out of UTSA. He has good speed, not too bad of strength with some power moves, a little bit of block shedding. I'm thinking of him as our strong kind of edge rush guy. Place him on the opposite side of our outside linebackers that we're having play in the 3-3-4. I think that would be a solid option. Really good awareness, but we might have to offer him a good amount of money. We don't necessarily have a whole lot of money. Also, if we could make some trades with some of our players, it could definitely help open up some cap space. If we offer this base offer here, I'm just going to take that down, make it a solid 3 years, 11 mil. Want to see how interested he is in that and see if anyone else crops up with an offer. And there definitely are some other teams, but we might be able to get in front of him. We've been able to get it up to that second spot, but we're running out of cap space, and we definitely have other places we need to sign. So I think we need to go ahead and get on into our evaluations here and see who ends up signing and who doesn't end up signing, so we know where we could try to move some money around. So let's evaluate these offers. We have two more chances to do it, but it looks like quite a few signed either with us or with other teams. And it doesn't look like we are going to end up getting Davenport, but we do get Elgton Jenkins, which is a huge get for us, as well as Ryan Bulaga. So we have some new guys in, but we still don't have the offers yet for Justin Pugh or Christian. So we're still in the front for them, but they haven't quite yet signed. And one person was signed somewhere, and it is Justin Pugh coming back to us. So we have gotten 3 out of 4 offensive linemen. No change yet to the offers for Christian. So we'll evaluate one more time, and we're still in the front, but he hasn't signed yet. So we'll send one over to the next week. Hopefully that will fix the cap room issue, and hopefully Christian will sign. So after simming on over to the next week, it does not look like Christian has signed, so we might need to go in here and just up the contract offer a little bit here. Make it a $9.5 million a season, or at least bump it up a little bit. That might just tip him over the edge and get him signed. That does also leave us with only about $13 million in cap space left, and we definitely have some more offers that we need to be making. Now, someone that I think could very well fit with our scheme and wouldn't really rival what we have going with Derek Young would be a guy like Matt Breida. He's a smaller guy, 5'10", 190, is 28 years old, out of southern Georgia. He has the speed, has some elusiveness, some agility, but I think would still be a number 2 kind of guy for us. Has some catching ability, which is going to be needed with our offense. I think this is a decent guy that we could go after that would fit our scheme. Now for Breida, he's expecting a 3-year deal worth about $3 million. That's not really what I'm going after. He is 28. Would like to stick on the cheaper end of this, especially as we don't have too much cap space currently. Might need to make some moves to clear some up at some points. Now, a surprise maybe, if you've been paying attention throughout this series, I've been talking about trying to find a fullback with some speed who I could kind of use as a power back at some points, as well as when we occasionally need an actual fullback, actually having one on roster. And I think a guy like Ryan Nall, who was with the Cowboys, we played him in the postseason, and I thought he was an actual running back. I think he could fit that kind of look for us. Has 86 speed, which is not bad. Decent trucking, good acceleration at 88 with some break tackle ability, carrying ability. Catching isn't awful either, with decent ball carrier vision. I think this is the kind of guy that we've been looking for, so I would like to work out a small deal with him as well. And he is 27, so a 2-year deal wouldn't be bad, but I would again like to lower this to try to save as much money as we can. So I'll make that offer. It's not a great offer, but I don't believe he had any other people coming after him, and he doesn't, so we'll keep that going for now. And I think with some of our remaining cap space here, try to work out a cheap deal for a possible backup safety, maybe even starter with Marcus Epps, who would play that strong safety role with Budda Baker coming down into the slot. So I'll make this offer again, probably nothing big, but we need to get some of these offers out. As for kicker going into the future, I think we go with Jason Sanders, a bit of a younger guy, but still has plenty of potential, or not potential, but is a solid kicker, good leg, good accuracy, good awareness. Make a decent offer here. We need to just find a punter, and then we can evaluate some of these offers. And you know, if Jake Bailey is available, I'm not passing up on that. So we will be making an offer here for Jake Bailey in the Stanford, or the California only challenge. He was our MVP for several years, as we moved him over to kicker as well. So hopefully he will join, but those are all of the attempts that we're going to have here. Only 6 players, but we do not have a lot of cap space. Past this, we would need to make some trades to open up some cap space. So let's see who signs, and there was a good amount of players that left this screen. So if we look over at the signings, we have Elgton Jenkins, we saw Jake Bailey does join, Bulaga we saw, Justin Pugh, we saw Jason Sanders joins, and we do get the offensive lineman in Christian. So those are 4 offensive linemen, as well as kicker and punter. No one else is offering, so we'll just continue to evaluate these offers. And maybe Breida signed. Again, didn't have anyone else going after him, and Breida is in. So, since we went so heavy on the offensive line and free agency, we still could address that in the draft. But I think in terms of finding out more information on guys, I want to go defensive line in this draft, with J.P. Richardson being one of them, around 1 to 2 projection, 21 years old, good size out of Notre Dame, listed at left end, would switch over to that right end, I believe, for our scheme. He has plenty of speed, good strength as well for an end spot, and his skill set is very intriguing, with A, block shedding and the potential for A to C power moves, with also decent intangibles, intelligence, pursuit's good, tackle's good. I think he could be a great guy for us on the edge, could rival Kingsley Keke, help try to provide as much options on the defensive line as possible. Kingsley Keke could even slide down to one of the rush DT kind of spots for us as well. So JP Richardson, definitely someone who I think we could bring in and could help us out. At the right end spot, a little bit later in the draft, Mark Bellamy, you might remember him from earlier in the season. He has B block shedding and B power moves. Would like to find out where exactly he's supposed to go. It says he's dropped 51 spots, but he still looks really good. Good size, 21 years old, speed, strength, and he does have a dual option to help us out with B block shedding and B power moves. He could help us out in the run and in the rushing the passer. Again, a smart guy who could tackle, good stamina. That's been a problem with a lot of our players. Good hit power. I mean, this is a really good guy. I see a guy that is higher than a 3rd to 4th round. I would just like to see where that is so we know roughly where we need to take him. Then at the DT spot, Emmanuel Fort, an older guy. I typically don't go after anyone 23 or older before like day 3 or really like 4th round or less. But he looks like he could be really good. 6'2", a little under 300 pounds, out of San Diego State. Again, really good speed, a lot of strength as well. So could play rush DT or end if we needed to, with really good intangibles, potential for A to C awareness with A play rec. Again, A to C block shedding with B power moves and B finesse moves. Looks really good. With D tackle, we'll probably keep him more on the inside, either nose tackle or defensive tackle, but still think he could be really solid. So those 3 will be my target. And we have a 5th-year option here for Isaiah Simmons, and with how well he's played going up to a superstar dev, we're 100% keeping him around. So yes, we will be picking up his 5th-year option, which will also decrease our cap space. That's the term, but we need to keep him around. And we only have one person left here in the targeted. So did we end up picking up? I honestly can't. Yeah, we did. Marcus Epps does join. So we do have the ability now to move Budda Baker down to that slot corner role. And in the 3-3-5, we will be primarily playing nickel, even when teams come out in a base style or a run heavy kind of formation. So having Budda Baker down towards the line at all times will basically act as another linebacker and help us out there. So having a guy like Marcus Epps definitely gives us some flexibility. And now, after simming over to the last week of the off-season, or free agency period, I should say, we do actually have some contract offers coming in for Zach Ertz. So hopefully we have something good here. He is 32 years old, 82 overall. We should be able to get something good out of these guys, or out of him. Minnesota is offering just a barrage of players that I don't believe we need. I would be interested in Evans, but don't think we need him. Chuba Hubbard would be really interesting, but I don't believe we need the other help. But I believe Chuba Hubbard would fit our scheme very well. So let's just take a look at all of these guys. Chuba Hubbard, 6 foot 210. He's actually a bit bigger than I thought he was. And I even watched him in college. He played at the school I went to. But he has some speed, acceleration, agility. Carrying looks pretty good. Brake tackle could definitely use some work, but ball carrier vision looks good. Agility, change direction, can catch. Yeah, I mean, very much fits exactly what we're looking for. That's what we expected with him. I would be more than happy to get him. Now let's take a look at those other players that they were offering. Now, Terrace Marshall Jr. is a young guy, 23 years old, 6'3", 200 pounds. Out of LSU, he has some speed, acceleration, catching isn't too bad, release pretty good. Can maybe try to work on him becoming a bit of a, what do they refer to him? Yeah, physical style guy. We don't have that really on the roster past D-Hop. So potential guy to try to build around with Marshall. I don't believe that would be bad. Plus, he's young. We need to get some youth on this roster. So I'm interested in Marshall as well. And at DT, they are offering Tershawn Wharton. He is 6'1", 278, so more of an edge kind of guy. 25 years old, out of Missouri S&T. Never heard of that school. He does not provide much of any block shedding. Does have some finesse move with good strength, decent speed. Would definitely be an edge rusher. Would provide us some depth that we do not have at that right end spot behind Kingsley Keke. I think this is a good trade. We're not getting picks that we could use for Ertz, but we're getting players, and we need players. So that trade for the Panthers, I like it. We'll accept it. We'll see how that affects. And we actually can't do it because it will put us over the salary cap. Well, I'm going to have to try to find some more ways to clear some space because I like that offer. So in terms of trying to clear some space, the only thing that I could do would be either release or trade. I would trade for sure. Marquise Brown or Adoree Jackson. So let's see what we could get for Adoree Jackson. We traded for him this last season to help us have a push towards the Super Bowl, which panned out. It worked well for us. We won the Super Bowl. And after the Super Bowls, mass changes happen. So I'm just curious on kind of what this would get. So I'm just going to do a 2 and a 7. I think that might be a little bit much for Adoree Jackson, but the Giants like it. So we'll get a 2 and a 7 for Jackson and clear a little bit of cap space. And hopefully that will allow us to make the trade with the Panthers. And I had to go in to do it manually because after it didn't go through the first time, it went as declined and then took away all the offers. So went in manually and it worked this time. We're able to get the job done. So in comes Chuba Hubbard, Marshall Jr., and Wharton. And sadly, we say goodbye to Zach Ertz, but we have a great young tight end that'll take over for him. And at the very end as well, Nall did sign, so we now have our fullback / running back, power back guy. And we are now into the NFL draft. So let's take a quick look here and see what the plan is for the Cardinals. Well, obviously we've made a lot of different signings, primarily for starters on the offensive line and kicker and punter, a couple different other guys that we've brought in as well. Unfortunately, with our focus scouting, we did not find out any more information on JP Richardson, so we still don't know roughly where he's going. We didn't find out any information on Mark Bellamy. We did find out a lot more about Fort, however, still don't know where he is projected to go. Unfortunately, didn't end up being as good as I thought he could have been. Awareness was A to a C and ends up being a C. So if that was an A, would think a lot different, but he is a well-balanced player with B power moves, block shedding, and finesse moves. Stamina's pretty poor as well as tackling, so a second to third round makes sense for him. In terms of where our picks are, we actually have quite a lot of picks, which is good because we do need to fill out a roster, but also we don't have a lot of cap space, so we'll have to be cautious. But we do have the 32nd pick in the first round, 28th and 32nd in the second round, 32nd in the third, 9th and 32nd in the fourth, with the 32nd in the 5th and 6th, and then 7th and 32nd in the 7th. So spread out, but we shouldn't really be picking until the latter part of the first round, or definitely the last part of the first round. So we're just going to go ahead and sim on down to our first pick. There's a lot of different areas that we could go. There's not one for sure guy we're going after. So let's skip on through to the end here. We will go for through the first 10. So First pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Marquise Rushing, running back out of UCLA. A running back goes first. The second pick is quarterback Brian Fisher to the Seahawks out of Jackson State. Chargers go with Emmanuel Tooney, Notre Dame linebacker. Dolphins go right back to linebacker with Marcus Jackson out of Florida. Jets pick up Ted Samuel, left tackle out of Georgia. Vikings select Josh Quincy, quarterback out of South Carolina. Vikings pick up the first quarterback in this draft. Seems realistic. And Quan Barnes goes to the Ravens. Very interested to see how good he is. I expected him to be extremely good. One of those, what do they call it? Generational players, I think is what they label him as. Very interested to see how good he is. Commanders go quarterback Bill McKinley out of Utah. Falcons go Cole Jeffrey, right tackle, Georgia. Surprising they didn't go after quarterback. They must have signed someone in the offseason or maybe made a trade. I'm not sure. And Titans go Eric Bayer, outside linebacker from Georgia. Georgia once again having a lot of guys early on here. But let's jump ahead to our next pick. JP Richardson is still here. So he's definitely someone we could go after. At right end, no one, I believe, in round 1 to 2. No. At DT, there is Demario McKinley available as well. So it's kind of between McKinley, I feel like, as well as Richardson. Demario McKinley, 6'6", 307, 21 years old out of UCLA. He has speed, has strength, at least a little bit of speed. And for him, his highs may not be as high as what we have with Richardson, but he might be very well balanced. McKinley is listed as a run stopper, so you would imagine it would be B block shedding. With B awareness and A play rec, could be a very well balanced guy. These guys are very, very similar. Just depends on which way we want to go. Richardson is faster, maybe a little bit less strong and much faster. Maybe by only a point or two, but A block shedding off the get-go, which means we wouldn't lose out on any run stopping ability, with potential power moves up to an A. I think you err on the side of the ceiling rather than the floor, and I think we go with JP Richardson. He is also 21, and he is our first pick in this series, and he's a hidden dev. 76 speed, would have expected a bit faster, if I'm being honest. But 88 strength will go up to, I believe, 92. With 85 acceleration, that'll be really big, helping him get around the edge. We'll need to keep an eye out on what the DT ends up looking like, but JP Richardson might very well be a starter day 1, and I sure hope he is, considering we took him in the first round. And once again, at this spot, I think we are again just looking for best player available. We have a variety of different needs that we could look for. Future starters at the offensive line, more depth along the defensive line, backup quarterback we could look at, possibly running back, receiver. Nick Hale, the strong safety, is a hybrid, so maybe he could even end up playing in that slot role. And with the speed and even the strength, he would fit very well there. So I think Hale gives us a lot of flexibility. I think we roll the dice and we go with Nick Hale. But 21 years old, what are the player notes? Physical player who delivers bone-crushing hits, aggressive ball hawk for better or worse. Okay, has a motor that runs through the whistle, often looks to rip the ball from runners, shows good discipline and won't get flagged much. He looks good. He went down technically throughout the draft, I think a few spots, but Nick Hale's our next pick, and he's a hidden dev. 92 speed, 88 acceleration, 91 agility with 86 jumping. That's 2 hidden devs back to back, and we pick again in a few picks. I think that turned out great. Now we just have to hope that Ba is still there. The only offensive lineman that I think could have a maybe starting spot this year. So let's see if he falls to us. Cowboys go with one of those other safeties, the other safety we were considering taking. with Fowler. So one of these two guys, if not both of them, we're going to go here. So that works out well for us. Bengals, they end up going with Tony Baugh. Come on. But going back to that right outside linebacker, Sean Reynolds is a pass cover guy. We had taken a look at him out of Tennessee, 21 years old, 5'11", 233. We know that he has some pretty good speed, strength as well, good acceleration and agility, could jump. I mean, a great athlete. We just don't know how the coverage actually is as a right outside linebacker. So what are his other kind of linebacker ratings? A to C for awareness, F injury is concerning, B tackle with C to F block shedding. I think this would end up being a reach, but has the chance to get out there and play if we ever go down to, I believe we have the 4-4 and the 46 defense in the playbook. So he would get out there as the third linebacker when we rarely do go out in that. It's area of need. He's the highest available, so we'll take a shot. And he's a hidden dev. Wow. 3 in a row. Okay, well, apparently I'm drafting very well here. 85 speed, 89 acceleration, 87 agility, 76 strength is not bad for a linebacker. Even if he ends up being like a 66 overall, hidden dev is huge. So, I'm happy with it. And we again won't pick until the end of this round, so let's jump on over to the end of the round. And I think what we're going to end up doing is taking a shot here on Jonathan Brahman. We need some depth at tight end. We were basically going to be starting over only keeping Trey McBride. We traded away Ertz, so we now only actually have McBride. So we have a tall receiver who we know has some decent speed, decent strength. We just don't know what his actual ratings are going to end up looking like. So we're going to take a shot in the dark here. And it is no longer a hidden dev, but 85 speed with 84 jumping, 87 acceleration with 73 strength. So at the least, we have a very athletic tight end to try to develop. And then simming forward a few more spots, 9th pick of the 4th round. Now we can really start to consider 3rd round picks without feeling like we're overdrafting them by too much. Let's take a look at Melvin Scott because bias first. Out of Stanford, 6'4", 318, so a big guy. Listed as a run stopper with sub 5 speed. Pretty solid bench reps as well. Skill set wise, we know he's not a finesse rusher. As a run stopper, I would assume power moves would probably be a C, maybe could also be a B. Awareness isn't awful. Play rec being a B, tackle B, pursuit could be solid. I think as a day 3 kind of guy, earlier 4th round, might be a slight reach or potential to be a slight reach, but trying to get younger, can maybe flex to an outside edge rusher, even though he has a pretty hefty size. Decent speed, I would expect low 70s maybe. I think someone we could definitely take a shot on. So out of Stanford, another normal dev, 70 speed, so pretty spot on there, but 88 strength. Gives us some options to move some guys around the defensive line. And with the 32nd pick in the 4th round, we still have a total of 73 guys on the board, most of which are potential undrafteds. And I think at this point, Joseph Cross is definitely someone we should at least take a deeper look at. He is 23 years old, so on the older side, won't regret or progress as much. 6'5", 253 out of NC State. Listed as a left end, would play more of that weak end, as we're calling it, role. Ran a sub 4.8 with decent strength, good jump, good agility, acceleration there too. That's what Gardick was so good at off the edge, was that speed and acceleration. And he has A to C power moves with B finesse moves, does not provide any sort of block shedding. Tackle ability is very raw. But at this point of the draft, almost 5th round, or is 5th round? I think this is the 32nd pick of the 4th round, I believe, actually. So pretty much 5th round. I think this is a good looking prospect here. Need to get younger at most of the positions. So Joseph Cross is selected, another normal dev with 81 speed, 80 strength. We'll go up to 84, 82 acceleration. Not bad. And unfortunately, there wasn't much else that really is intriguing me with what we have left in this class. So it might just be time to start calling some guys and seeing how they end up performing. So Jaleel Wall, potential undrafted player, will be drafted with the last pick in the 5th round. Definitely could be overdrafting him, but we need some guys on roster for, well, to fill out the roster. So Jaleel Wall, he is drafted, normal dev, 84 speed, very similar athleticism to the previous tight end we drafted. And with the last pick of the 6th round, I think we go back to getting some help at linebacker, inside linebacker. Dwayne Boyd is a pass cover guy. He's listed left outside linebacker, so we'll take the ratings with a little bit of caution. 6 foot, 232, 22 years old, out of Wisconsin. He isn't the fastest guy, nor the strongest guy. Very much a depth guy here, but he does have quick agility and acceleration. So he does have that helping him out. B awareness will definitely help out. A to C zone, B to D man, B to D tackle. Finesse and block shedding, not there, but depth player. Dwayne Boyd is selected, normal dev with 81 speed, which is definitely more than I thought he would have. 87 acceleration will help us out, or help him out for sure. So depth at the linebacker spot. There is, however, a draftable projected player here in Jermaine Allen, out of Oklahoma, 21 years old, 6'4", 298. His physicals aren't awful, has some speed, not super fast, but as a DT, one of the fastest. Bench press could be better, but has a lot of athleticism as a developmental interior pass rusher. A to C finesse moves with A to C awareness. The other things could definitely use a lot of help, but this spot is for drafting players who need help, but have some potential standout ratings. So Jermaine Allen, join the group, why not? Normal dev, 80 strength will go up to 84, 84 acceleration. See how well he ends up turning out. Out of USC, he's just a little bit slow and really just doesn't have any strength. 7 reps, and that's a certain. Press ability, maybe a little bit, but no zone coverage. We know that for sure. Man coverage also might not be there. Maybe has some slot skills we could try to develop. He also just might not end up making the roster, but Gordon Morgan, why not? We'll go for it. We'll add a cornerback to the draft class. And with the draft now over, it's time to see how these guys ended up turning out. And before we get there, Gordon Morgan is a hidden dev. So that made 4 hidden dev players in this draft class. It's not too shabby. So let's take a look at these players. And first thing I noticed is JP Richardson, not as good as I was expecting. Is a 73, but with the coaching boost hitting him, we'll definitely be changing that number 66. That's no. But with the coaching adjustments, does go up to a 79, so he actually gets quite a big boost. Is hidden dev, so don't want to mock at that. Plus, it was basically a 2nd round pick. But he's coming in with 70 power moves, but is primarily a run stopper. He has good strength. The speed is a little bit slow, but really good tackling. Play rec is there with a boost, but I believe that is from the tackling and play rec plus 10. So go ahead and take away the 10 because that won't be there for the regular season because that was due to winning the Super Bowl and taking the momentum from the Chiefs. So some interesting things there, but I expected him to be a bit better. We'll see how well he plays. He will be rivaling Kingsley Keke for a starting spot. Nick Hale is, I believe, our highest overall. He is getting a -2 to morale, but +4 from the coaching, so only a +2. So is a 76, 21 years old. Again, hidden dev. Strong safety with 92 speed. Tackle is actually a 67, so a little bit low there. We'll see. We'll see who ends up getting the start at the strong safety spot. But I would like to play the youngest if we can. But from the get-go, not awful ratings. Block shedding is pretty low, so definitely wouldn't be playing in that slot nickel spot. I think Buda Baker definitely has locked that part in. But 2 hidden devs to start off was not bad. And then we go and take a shot on Sean Reynolds. And he ends up actually being, from the first look of it, pretty good. Another hidden dev, 21 years old. And his cover ratings actually aren't too bad. A 71 zone with 65 man. Has, where is your block shedding? 65 block shedding, so definitely could use some work there. Tackle is a 78, so definitely a number 3 linebacker for sure. So we got our starters there, no problem. And I think even got some potential decent backups. We'll find out. But in the 3rd round, we took a shot at tight end. Probably reached a bit. Brahman ends up being a 65 normal dev. His ratings, though, aren't awful. 85 speed, 80 catching. Run blocking isn't too bad. Needs to work on the route running. But as a number 2 tight end, I think that'll be fine. 87 acceleration. He could stretch the field a little bit. Has some catch and traffic and spec catch ratings. I don't think that's too bad of a pick. For a second tight end, even lower overall tight ends, they play well in Madden. If you watch the Ohio Only Challenge, you know, with Jeremy Ruckert. Started, I believe, as a maybe 66, 68 overall and was a 1,000-yard receiver pretty much 3 years in a row. So solid there. We then go after Melvin Scott. He ends up being, well, with the coaching boost, a 73, so a 67. After doing some math out of Stanford, listed as a run stopper. And I would say, yeah, that's definitely more along the lines of where he's at, with 73 block shed, 64 power moves. Doesn't have a whole lot of speed, but definitely has some strength. At 6'4", 318, you could play him as a bit of a DT in this scheme, so not lined up on the center, but more on the outside of a guard. That'll be a good spot for him, a 3-tech pretty much. And we end up going back-to-back at ends, but this time will be more of the weak edge kind of guy. Joseph Cross, 6'5", 253, ends up being a decent overall. I believe it was 66 after you take out the boosts. Good speed, good strength, finesse moves a little low, but as 70 you could try to develop that and will be a developmental style player. Definitely need to work on his awareness and block shedding. He's a one-trick pony. At 23 years old, will probably maintain that for the rest of his career. Then we took another shot at tight end and end up with a 61 overall. So tight end spot isn't looking fantastic past the starter, but they all pretty much play the exact same with some speed, good hands, acceleration, need to work on the route running, but have potential to do well. They just need the development, so we'll see if we end up bringing in another tight end. But for now, we at least have some young potential. And then we round out the draft with 362 overalls. This one, Dwayne Boyd getting a +4, and he is listed at left outside linebacker and doesn't have fantastic cover ratings, but will be depth for us at a spot we need the depth. 77 tackling, has decent speed and acceleration. So, a work in progress, but again, we need depth. Jermaine Allen, 6'4", 298, possibly could play a couple different spots for us. With 73 speed, 84 strength, you probably want to play him more on the inside. And he would be an inside pass rusher, again, probably a defensive tackle, 3-tech kind of guy. We'll try to develop him. Again, a normal depth. And then Mr. Irrelevant, Gordon Morgan is hidden dev, rounding out our number 4 hidden dev of this draft class. No idea what he's going to be, and it's not great. Probably won't make the roster year 1, maybe not even year 2. Maybe by year 3 cracks the roster. But definitely looking like a practice squad kind of guy here with next to no zone coverage, strictly man press. okay tackling, actually minus 11 from that, so, or minus 10 from that, so only a 51 for tackling. So yeah, definitely I wouldn't say a slot guy out the get-go, but you could develop him towards that. And I'm pretty sure I called it on Quan Barnes being a generational player, an 80 overall, and that's with a plus and minus to morale, basically negating anything. So 80 overall, hidden dev. The Ravens got themselves a good guy here with a lot of speed, already a good press man guy. Needs to work a little bit on the zone, but could definitely get there, solid in the tackle as well. Yeah, Quan Barnes is going to become a really good safety, or not safety, corner. You can already tell he's going to be good. So the last thing we will do is sim on over to the next week. I will run through the leftover free agents, see if there's any good potential undrafted guys, bring them in, get this roster sorted for one last look, and that's the end of the first offseason of the Cardinals franchise. And actually, I can't even go out and sign anybody because we only have $710,000 in cap space. So if we are to do anything, we would end up having to trade someone or release someone, and the only option would really end up being Marquise Brown, but we don't have any option anywhere else at the receiving group for that spot. So unfortunately, we are in a very tough spot as we move forward. So let's reorganize the roster and we'll go from there. So for the first move, Eno Benjamin really doesn't fit what we're wanting to do. We could save a little bit of money by releasing him, so we will go ahead and do that. We'll free up about much more than that. Or end up freeing up about 900,000, so a little bit of help here along the way. In the receiving group, I think we are going to go ahead and release Lynn Bowden Jr. We have more than enough receivers, so we will go ahead and trim a little bit of the group here. There's just a lot of guys very similar to him on roster, some of which are younger, so we will make that release and again get a little bit more cap space back. And at the left end spot, we have a lot of guys, so definitely could try to move some of them on. Again, not all of them are at their correct spot, so we do need to reorganize for sure to start off with. So JP Richardson, after getting a new helmet, new number, will also be moving over to right end. Melvin Scott, we will be moving over to DT, where he would play that spot kind of right next to our weak end guy. And that leaves us with 6 guys who we can potentially play at the weak end spot. I don't think we need this many people. Granted, there's not a lot of money that we can end up saving here. We can make some cuts to trim down the roster, but they're not going to save us any money besides Myjah Sanders, and you're looking at about 300,000, so nothing too big there, so we'll keep them on roster for now. At DT, we do have a lot of guys who we could potentially move on from. Melvin Scott does move up to a 78 and is 3 years younger than Leki Fotu, who really didn't play all too well this last season. I think, honestly, Melvin Scott could come in and start day one, and I didn't even think that we would have had a starter here, that we had drafted a starter at the defensive tackle spot, but I think he could start over Fotu. So Fotu we could cut, but I think we could also trade him. Let's offer Fotu to the Bears for, let's say, a 6th round pick. Not going for anything crazy, just want to get some money back pretty much, and they'll accept that, so we'll get an extra 6. Matt Godel, we could save a little bit of money on. I believe he was on our practice squad, or maybe we did actually have him on roster, and he has some ability, but is not going to see any playing time. So I think because of that, we will go ahead and release him, and we'll end up saving about $500,000. Dwayne Boyd, the only left outside linebacker. We have 2 middle linebackers. I don't think we're actually running any actual 3-4, so we can move some of these guys around. Rayshawn Reynolds will be one of our starters, so Linebackers are all good. Could potentially use one more as some depth. Cornerback group is looking rough. We definitely could look to try to bring someone in, and might need to bring someone in because the group isn't looking all too great. Morgan might end up making the roster just so we have enough players. But we're going to need some people to step up. We do know Budda Baker will be playing down in the slots, so we should be good there. We have a tight competition here between Marcus Epps and Nick Hill as to who will get the start, but we'll see that in the preseason. And then we have our kickers and punters. So we were able to save a little bit of money. Probably give us a couple mil, maybe to look for another corner. And there actually are some higher rated corners available. We would like to play some more man coverage this year. So let's take a look at who we have that's the best for man coverage. And the first one we have is Thomas here out of Ferris State. Be his 6th year playing, decent speed, 79 man, a lower zone, and not much press. But if we go down to Isaiah Oliver, we lose a little bit of speed, only lose 1 man, but jump up a bit in terms of zone coverage and press. I think that might be the guy we need to go after here. Ends up being the same overall, 26 years old. I think that's the guy we go for. Isaiah Oliver, we're going to bring him in, and that will pretty much take us back down to having about $500,000 left in cap space. So he is in, and I don't think we could find ourselves a backup quarterback with $500,000. When we look at our overall money, a lot of it is going to DeAndre Hopkins. So if we end up wanting to try to save some money, D-Hop might need to be traded. There is a bit of a penalty there, but he's taking a lot of our money. Past him, we do have Kyler Murray, who is only under contract for 1 more season, so hopefully we'll be able to work out a deal with him. And those are all things we'll find out next episode and beyond, as we will start with going through the entire preseason next episode, and then the following episode will be week 1. So we'll condense the 3 games into 1. Quite a lot different here on offense. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, and Marquise Brown are pretty much the only remaining starters in the skill groups, quote-unquote skill groups on the offensive line. Hudson and Pugh return, but we have 3 new starters, and McBride starts at tight end. So a lot of different guys. Derek Young will be one of the primary running backs. It'll be him and Chuba Hubbard, probably split a very similar way than what we had with Mostert and Young. So Young will still be a part of it for sure. We'll try to see what Marshall can do. He was one of the guys we got in the trade with Zach Ertz. So some of those, actually all 3 of those guys in that trade, will look to see some playing time. On defense, Gardeck will get the start at the beginning. We'll see kind of what these guys end up looking like, whether it's Gardeck or Thomas. If Thomas doesn't improve, well, then we maybe end up trading him and go after a edge rush in the next class. Tim Settle, and then a variety of these other DTs will get some playing time. Richardson, we will go ahead and start, see how well he does. Kingsley Kiki can also very well get into the rotation, but I want to see what Richardson can do. He's a hidden dev. At the cornerback spot, this is where it gets iffy. We definitely took a step back as we will head into this next season. Byron Murphy Jr. back up to being the number 1, and Oliver will be on the opposite edge spot, with Budda Baker dropping down to that slot corner. In his place, Epps or Hale will get the start. I'm not quite sure which. And the linebacker, we're sticking, it'll show 3-4, but we're running 3-3-5. It's just similar, most similar way I could get it set up. Simmons and Collins will be the starter linebackers, with Reynolds coming in whenever we go to a 3 linebacker set. And then past him, who knows, it might be Boyd, might be Weatherford. We have some options. Free safety will remain the same with Thompson. And then of course we do have our new kicker and punter, but a lot of promise here. We're just going to need to see how well they play. So make sure you subscribe if you're not already, and tick that bell notification to be notified of when this series goes live. Posted every Monday and Thursday, with our state-only challenge posted every Wednesday and Saturday. So if you haven't checked that one out, I suggest you do. So until next time, hope you guys stick around, and we'll see you later. Bye.
How it's supposed to feel.